Oh, hello, 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 hello. Appear. So I miss somebody. Hey, Nova. How are you doing on this fine evening and or morning and or afternoon? Let me turn on the tracker. Switch the scene. Oh, geez. Look, it's me. More or less. That's the wrong button. Give me one sec. I'm a little out of sorts right now because most of my workflow is actually on my other computer. Because, of course, now that I've fixed a bunch of stuff, it's now the perfect time to start breaking stuff again. One sec, let's open up all the stuff. I'm just getting some groceries. Just finished getting some groceries, now I'm prepping food. Is this your new Linux desktop? It is not, absolutely not. It is still Windows. I like Linux, but not enough to actually switch to it. Although maybe in the future. Maybe in the future. No, it's just that. Let me demonstrate here by opening up a random file, not this one. I was working on the Rust ECS and Godot stuff offline. There's a bunch of things that are super broken. Or at least there's a bunch of stuff with that I was doing that were like causing a lot of deadlocks. Which is somewhat interesting, somewhat horrifying. That's a story for another time. Let me see. That's probably good enough. I just used WSL2 on Windows. Yeah, I'm a bit lazier than that. I just kind of wing it most of the time. And then to actually just test on another computer once I get around to it. But basically, what's been fixed? Check it out. It's not actually like very interesting at all, but there we go. We have some scripts. Or we have some scripts here, blah blah. Some output, as it turns out, Linux kind of painful to work with. I don't expect that this will work for everyone either, so it'll work if you are using a standard Ubuntu-based distribution, and also hopefully RHEL-based distributions. Yeah, I don't know. Some shell scripts, vastly simplified after I realized that after you create your VNV, your virtual ENV, you don't need to do anything else. Or you don't need to continually pass in the correct Python command. How fun. Random scripts here because Godot does some weird code execution. So instead of trying to pass in the correct commands, I'll just pass in a bash script. Yeah, I don't know. I thought this would be more impressive in my head, but it turns out it wasn't. But yeah, I think it's... Oh, geez. Oh, I don't have... Wait a minute. Do I not have lip sync loaded? Am I crazy? I feel like... Yeah, most folks, if you shoot for Ubuntu compatibility. Oh, yeah. Most people use Ubuntu. That is true. I also use Ubuntu. Or at least that's the computer. Or that's the distribution I learned first. Very familiar with apt. I use RHEL for work though, so I might be more familiar with DNF and Yum at this point. But I don't know. There's a surprising amount of people that use Manjaro. which is Arch based, which always kind of blows my mind. It's because like, why are you using like a bleeding edge distribution if you're not willing to, I guess, fix stuff or debug stuff yourself? Surprising amount of people that like use Arch as their daily driver but also aren't very technical at all, which is cool, I guess. It's like you like to live dangerously but also not avoid the danger whatsoever. One of those weird things. Forgot, I need to have a new streaming meta where I don't actually just focus on my stream the entire time. Instead, I watch a YouTube video on the side to keep me entertained. Using Sino aspect when I have pulled the rug out, switch to Ubuntu. Fair enough. Fair enough. As someone who is deeply familiar with Red Hat, I can tell you that most people were also very surprised. Since there was like the internal announcement that I may or may not have been privy to, was like only a week out from the public announcement. Never tried Irish though, seems might be a bit intimidating. Well, see, that's what Manjaro is for. Manjaro takes all of the intimidation out, which seems like a bad thing in my opinion, actually. What happened to my DLL? What happened to my DLL? Assets, real-time. Yeah. Oh, it's add-ons, not assets. Add-ons, real-time lip sync. Huh. What happened to my DLL? That is very strange. Oh, it yeeted it when I pulled. Why? Why did it do that? Why would you do such a thing? I think it's because I removed it in a commit. Oh, because I accidentally committed it, but uncommitted it here, then accidentally added the DLL back, then uncommitted it again on my Linux box. So it wasn't part of my local history on Windows. But when I merged my changes from my Linux box, it just got rid of my DLL. That makes sense. We'll just have to recompile it again really quickly. Cargo, build, release. Yeah, that's the only option. Sorry. Dev, real-time lip sync. Give it a quick compile. I actually should make a really quick change to this now that I'm thinking about it. But because the really quick change is that the lip sync is actually running in reverse, roughly. Because I think I'm adding where I should be subtracting, or at least that the range that is lip syncing to is a bit too high. I don't remember the specifics. I know it's something I need to change. Let's see, target, release, what is it called? Real-time lip sync, DLL. Add-ons, real-time lip sync. Yeah, that's probably the correct path. So now we can set this up. Takes a little bit, okay. What happens? You want to add it to git ignore, you're gonna need to push it anyways. Really should try to avoid pushing binaries. So I'm pretty sure it's now in my git ignore. I don't remember what exactly it looks like. I do things sometimes and yeah, you know what? It's not in my git ignore. Did I not push it on my side? Am I crazy? Hold on. Is this not the latest code? I thought I added this already. Git pull. Oh, there we go. There we go. Export templates. Beautiful. And technically, actually, export should not be part of this. Yeah, I used to have a really bad habit of accidentally pushing the compiled binaries. So one of the tasks I need to do eventually for this is run a BFG repo cleaner on my entire repo. Because actually, I'm pretty sure the entire repo size, if you were to clone it right now, it's like a gig. Like it's a lot of files because there's just a lot of compiled garbage in there. So I've run it once, but at that time there were like someone else was actually working on contributions. I was like, maybe I shouldn't mess with their stuff. Oh no. I'm just now realizing I restarted my bot as well. Usually my bot responds to commands like help, but there appears to be a bug in the the library since it's pulling from master every single time. That's good. You can always get clone with a depth of 1 if you just want to check out stuff with a help. In this case, probably not. I'm not sure. I'm not super familiar with like the inner workings of Git. Although that sounds plausible, I'm not sure. Doesn't for new people, when new people pull it, they'll still pull the entire repository. Or I guess not the, of course they're pulling the entire repository, but they're also pulling the entire history as well, since you can check the log and etc. That the one just doesn't mean, yeah. Doesn't grab all the commit history, but a regular clone will, yeah. So that's what I'm trying to, that's what I would like to solve. All right. That's neither here nor there. That's stuff that isn't super interesting. There is one thing I need to change here, which is one of these values is Camel Case. I don't know where it is. I've seen it before. There is a Camel Case variable. Or did I already fix it? It's possible I've already fixed it. Was it this one? No, it's these. It's these variables. Change all occurrences. Left, morph. I missed this in code review. Alright, so we're still working. We're able to load in random stuff. Cool. So bad with mixing case types and Godot scripts for some reason. Yeah. You'll get used to it. You get used to it. It's just standard standard Python for the most part. Although it does make it hard when you're coming, or when you're trying to interface with code that's mostly expecting C#. So you can see here that the bone mappings are actually camel cased. So I try to remap them to, well actually, the bone mappings are also mixed camel case and weird snake case. It's like the formal documentation or the formal VRM reference. VRM, hold on, VRM GitHub. You can find Uni VRM, yeah. No, that's Uni VRM. Where's the VRM specification? Yeah, the VRM specification is also mixed. Maybe. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. I'm probably remembering incorrectly. This also doesn't look familiar. Yeah, you know what? I'm totally remembering incorrectly. VRM spec is Camel Case and Pascal Case. Anyways, that's fixed. He's done it. Easy. We'll just push that straight to master since I don't think anyone else is working on stuff right now. What happened? Git restore assets. So what changed? Just this, and then the line endings were kind of messed with. That's something I need to look into though. I've never really thought about it, but I keep thinking maybe I should stop like checking for line endings. So git ignore line endings. Diff. Duck again? Oh baby. All you had to do was ask. Since I have a command explicitly for making people ducks. We'll turn me invisible for now. Alright, here we go. Get diff to ignore. Alright, cool. This looks promising. Auto carriage return new line. Which one do I want? Core white space. Core hey. Oh, this is duckify button. Thank you, thank you. It was a suggestion from somebody, and I was like, you know what, that's a great idea. I'm gonna steal that. That's why there's also a duckify button. Well, actually, there is no duckify button, but it's built into custom command here. So you like just write some random stuff. Now we're all ducks. I'll turn me into a pupper instead. I don't know, we're gonna try this. I don't know if this is correct or not, but... Okay. Or I guess how do I force things to save as new line? Get diff ignore. Because I think I'm using the. I think I'm actually already using that argument. I must have said it at some point. That's tough. Ignore CR at end of line. I don't know. Maybe I just need to change my setup. Because every time I touch a file, it's saving it with the Windows carriage return. We can give this a try. Why not? Start messing with stuff. All right, well, LF will be replaced by CRLF. I don't know. I just made a change that I'm not really sure what it was. Git config global. Is it global E? You don't want to care about the line endings, you just set the false, I think. Is that how that works? All right, there's my actual email address. Also, not a secret since I use it in my GitHub as well. Okay. So is that how that works? That it does not appear to be true. Since I just... Oh, okay. Now it just doesn't show the diff, but it still shows up as a diff. Hey. Maybe that's not what I'm looking for. Maybe what I'm looking for is like, please save everything on like Windows, on the Windows side as just like a new line. Any changes, at least in this case, I think should be fairly harmless though. Okay. It's just something that popped in my head when I was talking about cleaning my repo of bad commits. I said maybe I should also like try to avoid these empty commits as well, but that's all right. What did I even change? This was git commit all fix camel case variable name. Not the most useful one, but that's pushed. Let's see. All right, one more thing before I release, or I cut a new release of this thing. I need to start actually mapping the mouth data that I get from OpenSea Face. So the only mouth data that I'm using from OpenSea Face right now is whether or not your mouth is open or not. But it should be possible. I think that's actually how VC Face works. Well, of course it should be possible, but it is fairly easy to map the mouth open or I guess like the mouth corner values to the various mouth shapes that I have access to. So I have access to A, E, I, O, U, which are actually laid out in the Japanese order. I'm not really sure if that makes a difference or not. So let's see. There's probably a good way around this, and you know what? Let's see. This is all the data. I do need to clean this up at some point and also probably see if there's someone who can double check some of these conversions from Unity to Godot. It's like this stuff here is what I'm most suspect about. Because you can kind of see like that. I've run through a few iterations of the conversion. That's okay. We're handling it for now anyways. So custom updates. Boom, boom. This is blinking. We don't care about blinking anymore. There's no such thing as eco mode. There is mouth tracking. So this is mouth shape open or closed. Do this. All right, so let's determine the mouth shape, I guess. So this is open or closed. This one will be actual mouth shape. These guys can do one or the other or a mix of both. Yeah, I feel like I remember that, but right now I can only do, well, I can only do real-time lip syncing, which is kind of busted right now, but it looks correct enough. And then whether or not your mouth is open or not. But I want to do Was it mouth corner, mouth wide? That's probably a good one. And then I want to check the corners as well. Although I'm not sure what these values actually are. You know what? I should probably start looking at these. So this comes from data features, I think. Let me tell you, like I spent like an entire week just banging my head against this calculation right here though. This took forever. It was pretty wild. And by pretty wild, I mean like extraordinarily painful. Because the application was a lot less stable at that time too. The videos, the VODs have been lost to time. The model you're using right now looks pretty correct when you talk. Oh, thank you. Well, that's because it's like very far away, right? When you get a close-up of it, it kind of breaks because, well, that was okay. I don't know. It's hard to say. The algorithm, I feel like, is not, it's tuned incorrectly, or it's not tuned for an American accent, and there's currently no way to replace the weighting either, because I would need to build that in. So much stuff to do, not enough time. All right, so this should be data. Yeah, let's just hit it with a regular app manager logger info data features. I wonder what mouth wide maps to. So this actually runs off of, oh wait, this runs off of interpolation data. Who? So what do I use regular data for? Do I not use regular data anymore in here? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't use the regular data at all? Hold on, that doesn't seem right. Is it because in model display screen I use that? Oh yeah. Custom update, OpenSea data. Yeah, OpenSea data is all interpolated before I actually send it to the custom update. Oh. For me, got some cleaning stuff to do. Take it easy. My bot's broken. I need to fix it. I don't know what happened to my bot. It appears that there's some sort of gateway error. I don't know when it stopped working, but it no longer works. But thanks for hanging out anyways. OpenSea data. I think I might want to do this in interpolation part. We'll think about it. We'll think about it. So say goodbye to tracking here. We'll freeze. Give this a run. We can start tracking with the duck. It doesn't really matter. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, because this is not a VRM model. Send me. To do stub. Let's see, in model display screen, we can just start. Yeah, we can start printing here. So OpenSea data, features, mouth wide. So mouth wide. All right, now mouth corner up, down. I don't really know what these mean. One day I endeavor to figure it out, and that day is now. So mouth corner up, down, left, which is literally what it's called in the reference implementation. So let's just focus on the left side. Mouth corner, in, out, left. In, out, left, yeah. Mouth corner, up, down, left, mouth corner, in, out, left. All right, so let's give this a run. Let's track with the duck. Tracking with the duck, hello, hello, hello. Actually, I don't need to make any sound at all. Oh, hello, Bumdy. Hello, hello. Now that I have stabilized my... Now that I've stabilized my application on Linux, it's time to break it again. So I'm trying to figure out how to get mouth shape recognition working. I'm not really sure what these values map to, and there's not a great reference for that stuff either. At least for this data. So doing like this. I'm looking at the mouth wide values. Maybe I pursed my lips a bit too. I think I have a naturally like a very small resting mouth. That's kind of a weird thing to say. Kind of wish I didn't say that now. But when I'm smiling, yeah, or I guess now I'm not smiling, but like I'm doing the mouth, the facial expression that gives me a dimple. I'll get a value that's very close to 1. I can see. I don't know if that's really seeable in the preview. But mouth corner, up, down, left. What does that mean? These values appear to be very similar. What's in, out, left? Wait a minute. So if I shift my entire mouth over, can you draw separate lines to debug it? I'm not sure how to do that. How do I do that? I used to have a debug tool that kind of worked. It's actually still present in the repo, by the way. It is still here. So there's like a dev UI scene that just shows the stuff. I don't remember how to make it work though. It's not really a debug thingy. It just draws all the points and then like assigns a sphere object to that point. No, I'm just trying to map it out to like what my facial features are. So I think mouth wide is pretty easy to map. But mouth corner, in, out, left. I'm trying to figure out what causes that value to be closer to 0. Or I guess, what causes that value to go more negative? So if I squish my mouth to the left, it appears to go positive, but not very positive. But if I squish my mouth to the right, we get really close to -1. Is that where it detects mouth corners automatically? I don't really know. It's a little bit of machine learning magic. Little bit of machine learning magic. Have to check OpenCFace directly and see what it's doing. But yeah, I don't really know. Let's see. It's one of these. It's one of these. One of these. Not this one. I don't remember in which order the data gets packed, but it does get packed as a byte array, and then you need to unpack it. I don't remember though. Here it is though. Okay, so you don't have to do .line scan points on the input. Dot line scan points on the input. What does that mean? Up, down, left. Oh, mouth corner, in, out, left. Up, down. Wait, but what's the point? Hold on. Hold on. What's the point? That's how mocap works? Oh, so you're saying like I don't need to put like... I don't need to like decorate myself for the camera to pick me up. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's all machine learning magic. Okay, I think that mouth... So, some of these values are actually... Like mouth wide is actually a composite value based off of in, out, left. Yeah, you know what? That's what I think it is. That's what I think it is. Yeah. So... Mouth open is a composite value based off of up, down, left and up, down, right. Mouth wide is based off of in, out, left, in, out, right. In, out, left and in, out, right determine how close the mouth corners. So your, I guess the stretch part of your mouth. Let me see if I can. Where's my mouse? Brush. Yeah, so given a mouth that looks like that, roughly, it's beautiful. So in, out, right, up, down. Yeah, so what it's doing is that it's looking at this value and this value. And so there's an up, down component. Or wait, I guess we don't need to do that. And then there's a left-right component as well. Yeah, interesting. So that's what these map to. So that's how it knows whether... That's how it knows what these mouth open and mouth wide values should be. It's based off of the individual up, down, in, out. So this is in... out, I think, and then this is up, down. Okay, interesting. So based off of that conjecture, shall we say, I think what we can do, I think I still need to interpolate. Yeah, I probably should also just interpolate this by default. So let's open up interpolation data. We do need to interact with this. So it looks like a lot of the... Okay. Pretty much everything is just raw. Or not raw interpolated. Of course, everything is raw interpolated. And then we use the interpolated value to actually pose the model. Is it just global translation of the mouth? I think it's the, you know, based off of this model, right? It's the, whatever the face tracker thinks is the natural position of your mouth, then translated. So it's kind of global translation, but I think it's local translation in comparison to what it thinks your zero position is. Which is why when you know, the tracker doesn't really work until you do like a full rotation of your entire head. And like if you don't blink a few times, the tracker also doesn't know like how much to, you know, guess, you know, is your eye open or not, right? Because it doesn't know how much it can change. So I think it's not really global. It's like a local translation based off of what it thinks it's, whatever it thinks that your global translation is, almost. So, but it's that global translation or that global rest position is always a sliding value. But I mean, it's not the thing that captures mouse shape. It's not the thing that captures mouse shape. I think it is. I think it is. I think that these values are composites, right? So mouth open is a composite value of mouth corner up, down, left, up, down, right. And then mouth wide is a composite value of in, out, left, in, out, right. Because I think that unless, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I guess maybe this drawing is a bit inaccurate. Like, I guess it would be more accurate to draw it as, like, as these points, not this point. Because I think it is technically impossible for your mouth to make this shape. So it just uses these corner points to assume, like it uses the corner points to assume whether or not your mouth is up or down. But maybe it's also tracking these points in the middle here for your up down, or for your mouth open. We use yeah. No cat mouth. Sorry, we don't do cat mouth here. What is cat mouth? Cat mouth is something like that. If we do it in a give you a button nose. We don't need noses here. It's beautiful. That's pretty much a cat. Give it some ears. That's like a bear. It's a teddy bear now. Yeah. Ooh woo. Yeah, but I don't think cat mouth is an actual mouth shape that anyone can do. So I think we're good on that front. Needs cat hands. This is actually a teddy bear. And then we can actually turn it into a, guess what? It's now your favorite EN HoloLive VTuber mascot, Takodachi. He's done it. Jeez. Or it's possibly the, what's that, the McDonald's mascot, the purple one? That's supposed to be like the chicken nugget. Anyways, interpolation data, we do need to pass in, so there's target mouth movement. I feel like this interpolation data stuff needs to be, reworked, but I don't really have a better solution, so maybe not. There's a lot of things that need to be reworked. All right, send me over here. I like looking at the data like this. So I need to look at, I guess I just need to look at mouth open and mouth wide, since I think that those are composite values. That's the current working theory. I would need to talk to the author and see. So what is target mouth movement tagged to? Target mouth movements. So we set it in update values. So this is mouth open. Okay, so we can just have like target mouth wide, or no, yeah. What was it called? It's called mouth wide, right? Mouth open and mouth wide. So this needs to actually be closer to, this is like target mouth open, and then this one should be last mouth open. Wait. Hold on. Should interpolate mouth, interpolation rate, last mouth, interpolation rate? No, that's not right. This one. I don't remember what last interpolation rate's supposed to be used for. Oh, it's supposed to be for if you toggle your interpolation rate here, because you have various interpolation options. So you can use just a global interpolation rate for everything if you want. But if you want to have like a really fast mouth open rate, what you can do is switch this value, interpolate mouth, to be like a lower value. So you can interpolate things on different rates, and then it would give you back the interpolation stuff based off of your set interpolation rate. Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing. So last mouth open. All right. So now it's going to be last mouth wide, some sort of float value, and then this will be target mouth wide. All right, so that's mouth movement needs to change. This needs to be mouth open. Then this needs to pull from mouth open. And then based off of the mouth open values, or mouth open and mouth wide values, I can kind of just guess what it's supposed to look like, I think. Because I don't need to know about your mouth corners. So based off of this, right, how would I estimate your mouth corner? Or I guess how would I, what does like A look like? All is like midpoints. What happened to Rust backend thingy? It is still in progress. I ran into a few deadlocks. So I can actually show that off here. Let me just open up the main file. I'm still working on it. I was actually working on it somewhat today before I reloaded Pop OS on my other laptop. What was it called? Godot Pong Rust. Yeah, there we go. So the problem though, is here. So when I spawn stuff in, what's happening is it actually deadlocks somewhere in this system here. And I think the problem is that you're not allowed to just grab the scene tree. You're not allowed to just grab the scene tree like that. So I need to come up with a better solution here in order to spawn things into the world, as it were. So I'm not sure what to do. I'm thinking needs an interface. It doesn't really need an interface. I just need a better way of adding things to Rust. I'm not really sure what it is though. What I think I should do is I need to like pass in like an entities node instead of just the scene tree. If I pass in an entities node instead of just the scene tree, this might work, but it requires a bit more tweaking. Yeah, but I'm not working on that today because I feel like I can I'm very close to cutting a new release of this application. I've been saying that I was going to cut a new release for like a month now, so it's probably the right time for it. Yeah, but I've actually run this code a few times. I think about like 1 out of 5 times it will actually run correctly, and then the other 4 times it'll just hang somewhere in this function. I'm not sure. So there's no error. It just stops. But when it does work, it runs very fast, even though there's no controls. So, don't know. But what I think is the main problem is that I'm just grabbing you're not allowed to just grab the scene tree. That's pretty much it. What is your problem? Hey. Mouth open. This should be mouth open. And then this is mouth wide. Let's see. Let's see. Mouth wide is P target. Mouth wide. Alright, let's pass on this. Do need to implement it, so we'll just hit it with a stub. Let's see, there's a few of the mouth thingies. Should interpolate mouth. Mouth interpolation rate, last mouth interpolation. So this needs to change to should interpolate mouth open. Should interpolate mouth open. Change all occurrences. Mouth open interpolation rate. Mouth open interpolation rate. And it appeared to have changed all the other things as well, so I think that's hopefully okay. So, I wonder if there's a better way of tracking this. There is a better way of tracking this, is that I create like an inner class inside of here, so this is just like interpolation config values. And then the actual values, I just also create an inner class to track all of these. Yeah, that probably makes more sense than just doing it manually like I'm doing it right now. It's gonna be a pain though. But we are trying to clean up some of the code. No, is this how, is this the ultimate fates of all Java code bases, basically? Is that like, oh, you can just do things like this and like, oh, wait a minute, we could clean this up by like turning these into model classes, and then suddenly your project turns into the classic Java monolith, like a million classes that all kind of contain some values. What a pain. So class, config values. So var should interpolate some sort of bool. Yeah, actually these are all floats, so that's not hard. It's the next one where it gets kind of dicey. So last interpolation. Right, so then this will be, this is base. Yeah, this is base interpolation rate. So it should interpolate. Where is this used? Let's hit it with a Control Shift F. That's probably okay. Yeah. There's only 23 results in one file, and I should be looking at all the files. Yeah. Okay. So it's not really base interpolation, it's more just like the... I guess it is your base interpolation, Or what I really should do is, because the base interpolation actually maps to your global interpolation rate, which is tied back to your just body interpolation rate, which might be incorrect, or at least it might be a little unexpected. That's okay. We'll change that later, I guess, because it's actually a little inaccurate. Base interpolation. So to do, this name is a bit misleading. This is actually the body interpolation rate. It gets reused for other facial features. If there are no overrides. Yeah. I think bone interpolation rate is probably the best one, because it's, as you can see from the note, it's actually not used. Interpolation. So gaze interpolation. Blink interpolation. So mouth open interpolation. I refuse to use a shorthand for that because I'm pretty sure the only shorthand for interpolation is int, and that is incorrect. It's absolutely not mouth int. Mouth wide interpolation. All right, there we go. And then this is a bit more complicated because now we need to track your last value, current value, or last value and target value. And then we can probably track that in just the config value stuff. So we can do last value. We'll duck type it. If this is like a real programming language, I shouldn't say like a real programming language. If this was like I guess a more structured programming language, we would use a generic, but we're not. So last value, target value. And so now we have removed all of this. So now it's technically like super cleaned up. Now we'll just need to go through and replace everything. How fun. So let's look at should interpolate, replace all instances of should interpolate. So toggle interpolation. Oh, I remember this. This one was super tough. This one was tough. I remember this. All right. So base interpolation. Let's actually go to, what is this? That's fine. So get checkout branch. Feature. Add. Mouth shape tracking. There we go. So base interpolation dot should interpolate is equal to value. So we get rid of this. If value, then we need to set the interpolation rate is equal to base interpolation last interpolation rate. Oh geez, these variables are very long. Oh good. If should interpolate, if not should interpolate bones. Oh, and then these actually refer to these other ones. Ah, what a pain. What a pain. If not, bone interpolation should interpolate, then bone interpolation dot interpolation rate is equal to base interpolation rate, something like that. Now we just need to repeat that ad infinitum for everything else. If not, bone interpolation should interpolate, then bone interpolation rate is equal to this thing. Not. Oh, this is, I did bone twice. Hold on. This is gaze interpolation, right? Next one is blink interpolation. Should interpolate. Blink interpolation rate is equal to this. If not, mouth open interpolation should interpolate. Then mouth open interpolation rate is equal to this. Yeah. Then lastly, the new one, which is mouth wide interpolation, should interpolate. Mouth wide interpolation rate is equal to this. Okay, so I can probably wrap that up into like a nice value or a nice helper function in this, so we don't need to go through this long song and dance. How would I do this? So we would call this something like func should in, let's see, toggle off other options if they're already toggled off. This is like maybe reset. Yeah, this is like a maybe reset values. That's close. That's pretty close, actually. So, new value, guaranteed to be a float. So, if not, should interpolate. Then we'll set our interpolation rate to new value. That's actually, yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So instead of doing this, we would just do bone interpolation, maybe reset values, and we set that equal to our base interpolation rate. Yeah, look at that. So now that's way cleaner and also way easier to understand. He's doing it. He's doing it. Maybe reset value. Or this is more like maybe reset interpolation rate. Maybe reset rate. Maybe reset rate. Back-ish. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Currently refactoring things. Something that has been a long time coming. Oh, geez. What did I do? All right. So previously, how this looked was we just tracked every single value individually because there weren't that many values to track. Initially, it used to just be like your movement, but then people were like, all right, you know, I wish there was interpolation on like the eye tracking. I was like, all right, I got you. I wish there was also interpolation on the blinking. I was like, all right, I got you. And now it's just kind of like ballooned out. So now it's a good time to modularize, encapsulate, if you will, the information. To refactor my cloud machine stuff too. Yeah, I actually don't really mind refactoring as much as maybe other people do. Mostly because it's, you know, it's low-hanging fruit. It's something that's easy. You know exactly what the requirements is. You know, the requirement is always going to be like, make it work. Make it work, but like slightly better. So this is bones, gaze, blink, mouth open, mouth wide. Yeah, look at that. So now we can get rid of all of this stuff. Look at that. This is the old stuff. We're going to keep that for a little bit, just as a reference. Yeah, but that's pretty good, I think. That's a pretty good whatever. Maybe reset rate. Just call that every single time. Why not? Otherwise, we'll do base interpolation. Last interpolation rate is equal to your base, or base interpolation. Ooh, base interpolation rates. Hold on. What did this map back to? So there's the base interpolation rate and the last base interpolation rate. So if we're toggling it off, then our last interpolation rate, we set it to our base interpolation rate, and then we set our base interpolation rate is equal to 1. I don't remember what the logic was here. But it looks like this logic is pretty close. Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing, except I'm setting everything to 1. I don't remember how I figured this out. I have no memory of implementing this, which is the sad part. It just means the project has gotten like way too large. Yeah, I guess this is like maybe set rate. Maybe reset rate is not totally correct. I know that there's a way to change all occurrences, but it's okay. I feel like that option to change all occurrences is kind of a trap sometimes, especially when you don't have great IntelliSense. So if you're not sure where all the values are, then yeah, I guess this can help. But I know where all the values are. I just wrote them. It's quicker just to copy and paste really quickly. Remember when I was at on one of my clients and one of my projects as well, the way that's I guess the regular consulting resources, aka me, well, all we really had to do was like turn the UI markup or mockups, the UI mockups into like basically codify them, so it's really just like a really big Excel spreadsheet of where every single UI element needed to be. And so I noticed that everyone was just using their mouse all the time, even though it's in Excel. I was like, what are you doing? And they're like, yeah, we're just like doing the Excel thing of where you click a value and then just drag it down to autofill. And but like, you're getting the values you're dragging down are all incorrect. And they're like, yeah, but like, means I have to type less. I'm like, but I can type out everything way faster. Like, yeah, it's a bit more wasteful for some values, but like if you're changing like 80% of the values, it's faster just to type it out really quickly. What are you doing? And that's how I learned my first lesson in the world of work, is that you don't want to be the most productive person. You want to be the second most productive person. because I was too productive, I ended up making the other people kind of dislike me. So I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, my manager absolutely loved me. Technical lead absolutely loved me. Other consultants somewhat to very much disliked me. And then the technical resources absolutely hated me. So should Excel files are clients, scary stuff. Oh yeah, some of those files are absolutely horrendous. Yeah, one of the tasks they gave me was they had like an old Excel macro in order to generate garbage data for testing. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. You know, it's just a short Visual Basic script, right? And they're like, haha, haha. And it was like a 10,000 line Visual Basic script. I was like, oh my god, what the heck is this? So whenever you ran the script, like if you run the macro and there's not like a total failure, it'll just skip it for the most part. At least with their setup, at least. But when like actually running it, like almost in like debug mode, it's like just error after error. And it's like, all right, falling back to this value. All right, what are we falling back to? And I was like, oh, just some other completely different file. It's like someone had read a book on like how object-oriented programming should work, and they're like, yeah, this seems correct, just separate everything out into different files, right? And I'm like, no, that's not actually how OOP works. But they took that and ran with it. Too much Visual Basic, VB script, yeah. It was a fun time. It was a fun time. What we eventually just ended up doing was not updating it. We just did not update it. Instead, what we did was we took the output and then ran it through our own scripts. Because it was good enough. It was good enough. All right, so this is like maybe reset. Oh no, that's very confusing. Actually, no, that's not. This is like maybe reset rate, which takes no values. And then we can just do if should interpolate. Then we'll do interpolation rate. Wait. Yeah, is equal to last interpolation rate. Else. Hold on. What? Base rate. So if we should interpolate, then we'll use our last interpolation rate. Yes, and that last interpolation rate is set by what? Bone interpolation rate. Oh, I set the last interpolation right here. Oh. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to figure out what my own code is doing. It's very scary. Last interpolation rate is equal to our current interpolation rate. And then our current interpolation rate is equal to our base rate. That's somewhat confusing. So this is bone interpolation, maybe reset rate, and then we'll need to pass in our base interpolation, interpolation rate there. That's just a reset value. Okay. And then actually, we can set this in... It feels like I can wrap all of this up into its own... into the same function, but then I'd be a little bit more confused. You know what? I think we're gonna keep it like this. This is a bit more readable if we keep them as separate steps. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, this one should actually probably be a separate step, because these... yeah, these should... yeah, these all share the same logic. Yeah. So, we'll refactor that a little later, once I get this working. So maybe reset rate. That is a horrible name for it. Because there's maybe reset rate and then there's maybe set rate. Which is not great. That's not great. Let's add a comment so I don't get confused. So this is called when, let's see, called when toggling off base interpolation, or I guess called when toggling base interpolation. Called when setting specific interpolation values. That's a bit more correct. I need to think about that. So, should link interpolation, maybe reset rate. Yeah, I need a better word for that. The more I say it out loud, the more I hate it. So this interpolate mouth. This is something else that needs to be changed as well, because that's no longer correct. It's actually very wrong. So interpolates. It's like interpolate mouth open, and then this is like mouth open interpolation. Should interpolate value, and then mouth open interpolation, maybe reset rate based off of the base interpolation rates. All right, really quick. Then we'll go into, it's in tracking.gd, maybe. Oh, this is absolutely not in tracking.gd. This is in tracking.xml. There we go. So these are all the interpolation things. Mouth interpolation, right? So this is mouth. Maybe these should just share. Yeah, these should actually probably share the same value. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, these should probably share the same value. At least in terms of like UI configuration. Because it doesn't make sense to split them up into mouth. Why would you want to have a different interpolation rate for your mouth open and then mouth, how wide your mouth is, mouth wide? Yeah, I think if you're dealing with mouth stuff, it should just be the same value. Yeah, you know what? I'll need to make a note though. So like note, and also let's turn on. Give me this. Oh, I don't have. Give me note. Yeah, there we go. Actually, give me one sec. How do you, to do highlights, give me the deets. How do you set the color? How do you set the color? Gonna try it on, see if it flows right. Yeah, that's the hope. That's the hope. So notes. Alright, give me one sec. So text, notes, color. Don't really know. Make it blue, I suppose. Background color. Don't want it to be yellow. We could make it like green. Green and gray, spelled in the American fashion. Is that a save? Oh, that is horrible. Also, that's not green, that's blue. Question mark. Is green not a color? Hey, hold on. All right, give me a hex code. Hex code. Finder. Picker. Yes, I love it. Give me something very blue. So color. Boom. Or no, I wanted green. Yeah. Give me green. And give me some sort of dark gray color. This is not going to show itself. Gray as a background color doesn't work for us, so maybe try black. I think that's okay. I think that's okay. What's the opposite of green on the color scale? So you go from green to red, and then green to, or what's the complement to green? It's purple-ish. Purple-ish is not bad. That seems very menacing, though. It looks very menacing. I suppose it should be menacing if we want it to be like a real note. All right. Anyways, note. This is shared by mouth open and mouth wide. That looks pretty good. Menacing to-dos. Oh, it's a menacing note. I like to separate out my like to-dos and fix-me's, or notes. So most comments are just for like explaining why I'm doing a certain thing, or like trying to group together certain values. But I feel like notes should be like, hey, you know, this is very strange, but also don't change it. That might be the wrong mindset to take. But once your application grows to a certain size, I feel like that's what you gotta do. All right, we're almost done ripping out all the old stuff. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. No, I'm not actually a huge fan of fix me. I feel like fix me and to do are like the same thing. Although I do know that a lot of places make a distinction between like fix me refers to code that is broken. Whereas yeah, fix me is for stuff that's broken. To do is for things that is for improvements. Yeah. I don't know. I suppose maybe I'll use Fix Me in the future, but I almost never have the need to ship broken code, at least for this. Or at least, I almost never have the need to fix or ship intentionally broken code. But I feel like that's what Fix Me is for. It's for code that's intentionally broken. If only because I don't have deadlines, right? I don't get paid for this. Base interpolation. Should interpolate equals value. Last interpolation rate. Oh, wait a minute. No. It's value. That's correct. Base interpolation rate is equal to value. Hold on. This is like set all rates or set both rates. Yeah, we can do that for this. So interpolation rate is equal to new value, last interpolation rate, new value. All right. So we'll clean that up. So set both rates. Which is some sort of value, right? So this is base interpolation rate and last base interpolation rate, which is what I'm doing here. I'll just clean this up. Then the next part, I think this is just maybe set rate, right? So this is bone interpolation, maybe set rate. You know, maybe set rate should probably be called like base rate changed, maybe. Yeah, base rate changed makes more sense. All right, we're changing it. So this is base rate changed. All right, doing this really quickly. Let's do it really quickly. Maybe reset rate. I still need to think about a better name for that. But now it's bone interpolation, base rate changed, based off of the new value here. So bone interpolation, gaze interpolation, base rate changed, based off whatever that value is. And so we only ever actually set the value if we're not overriding. Yeah. And then that stuff is all handled by this. Or I guess setting it back to your base rate is based off of the toggle value. Yeah, this makes sense. That makes sense. He says out loud to himself as to hopefully convince himself that it makes sense. Blink interpolation, base rate changed. Blink, this is mouth open and mouth wide. Mouth. So mouth closed. Oh, it's not mouth closed, it's mouth wide. Base rate. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate the backup for myself. Let's see. So this is bone interpolation. Set both rates. Value. Feels pretty good. This is gaze interpolation. Set both rates. I think this is like once I finish this up, these are just the callbacks. So after this and now, then I actually need to modify how the values are actually used in the interpolation calculations. Mouth open interpolation. Set both rates. Value, then mouth wide interpolation, set both rates. Yeah. All right, so this should all, actually this won't do anything right now. Let's see, the target rates are what needs to change. All right. Okay, so I don't actually need any of these pretty much. Let's move all of these together. It's not gonna throw an error just yet. Actually, it will. It's just farther up in the file than I thought it was. Blink interpolation. Beautiful. All right. So I think we can just get rid of these and then start fixing all the errors that show up. So let's see, results. This is based off of gaze interpolation. Okay, you know what? We can just get rid of these as well. Say goodbye. Oh, hold on. There's another error. Oh, it's in the init. Okay. So init. Why do I need to set these? All right, I don't remember why I'm setting those, so let's just take that out and hope it doesn't break anything. So base interpolation target is equal to p target translation, target rotation. Oh, some of these have more than one target value. I forgot. The target translation and rotation are slightly different, but the translation and rotation are both based off the base rate. Who wrote this? I wrote this. No. I forgot. This guy. I remember I explained this at the a few minutes ago, not a few minutes ago, maybe like 30 minutes ago. That this entire class was kind of like slapdash. Okay, now I got to think about this again. It's better to have or to tag these towards like concrete values, if that makes sense. It's better to tag these towards concrete values. So we can change this to be, it's not the base interpolation rate anymore. It's more of like the translation and, but you still need to have a base interpolation rate that you would want to change, and then just tag like body translation and body rotation to base. All right, let's do that. Translation interpolation. Great name. I love how it rolls off the tongue. Not sarcastic. Rotation interpolation doesn't really roll off the tongue as well. All right, but base interpolation will still we'll tag everything towards your base interpolation, or no, we'll tag translation and rotation based off your base, and then everything else just happens to be tagged to base as well. Yeah. So our translation interpolation should interpolate equals value. We need to make sure that these are always tagged to that. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I do need a way to separate out the values, because yeah, when I was updating this class, I didn't consider it would grow to this size. So now I'm in a weird place. I guess like this would just use base rate. We would just set it based off of the base rate, maybe. So base rate changed. This is always going to be true or false based off of whatever. Yeah, I guess we could do this, right? Base rate changed. Base rate changed. It's not great. That's not great. That's not great. That's tough. That's tough. Alright, translation. Set both rates values. So these will always just be tagged to the same one, I guess. I'm not happy about that. But I think I would need to rethink how the entire application works. Right, because based off of how I've implemented like granular interpolation options, there really is just like there's only global interpolate, which controls your body interpolation. And I don't really have another field for base interpolation because it's such an edge case. I think it would be more confusing to actually expose that. Yeah, that's tough. Note, these values are always tied to the base interpolation rate, or to base interpolation. Yeah, I guess that'll work. Then here, we don't actually really need to update the target value for base interpolation. We only ever need to update the translation interpolation target value, target. Yeah, one of these. Yeah, one of these. So rotation target value equal p target rotation. Okay, that makes sense. Right, left eye rotation. Oh no, hold on. Okay. I forgot. Okay, hold on. No, I've made a huge mistake. Okay, the target values need to be different from your. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've made a huge mistake. Hold on. Is not necessarily always one-to-one with it. It's only ever one-to-one with your mouth open and mouth wide values. But even then. Yeah, actually, you know, I should not have different values for your mouth open and mouth wide, because I'm actually doing the same thing for gaze and stuff. So like gaze actually interpolates your left eye and right eye rotation separately, which I could have figured that out if I actually read my enums. No, okay, mouth. Interpolation. He's made a huge mistake, and now he's paying for it. Okay. All right, yeet these. We actually don't need those either. So let's start fixing all of these. So we only ever need to tag everything to your base interpolation, right? Once again. So now this is just mouth interpolation. We will not separately track interpolation rates for mouth open and mouth wide. I think that was the confusing part. Mouth interpolation. Yeah, so this should just be mouth interpolation. And then I'll need to have a separate class to hold like target values. All right, at least I'm glad I caught that now as opposed to later, because that could have been really bad. Yeah, I feel like I need to like write up an architecture document, at least for like my own sake, before I lose my mind. For math, it almost makes sense because you can almost disregard the left-rightedness, maybe? Yeah, it does make sense. Actually, based off of this drawing here, right? So what it's actually based off of is your, well, so there's several values. So you have your in, outs, and then your up, down values, and then those are separated into left and right. So you have your left in, outs, up, down values, and then your right in, outs, and then right, up, down. But then you also have composite, oh, thank you. You also have composite values called mouth open and then mouth wide, which is why I initially came up with the separation of mouth open interpolation and mouth wide interpolation. Yeah. So I don't know why I thought that I would be tracking left and right for some reason for mouth. I guess like it would be better actually to add supports for that, but I'm pretty sure most models don't actually have like the necessary shape keys set up, right? In order to do like if you're smirking or something, right? I don't know how to. There's no way for me to show it. I don't really feel like showing face cam, but you can look at my face online if you want. You know, like if you like smirk and you do like a move one of your mouth corners up. I feel like most basic VRM models don't actually have those blend shapes set up, so I don't think I'm going to build in support for in, out, up, down. It'd be kind of cool if you have a smart leaning left to right, but yeah. I mean, it's not hard to add support. I would just need to go more granular, but most models don't have that anyways, right? Like I can even check with the Senko model, right? Which is, I believe that this one is more or less custom. So based off of the blend shapes here, like this one doesn't even have like smirking blend shapes. Even though that this one is using like 1 million blend shapes for the eyes. Oh, it's not using 1 million, it's just using 3. Whereas the model I was tracking with before, that one had just 1 blend shape controlling all the eyes. This one actually has 3 moving in order to do like blinking, which is why it used to be broken until I fixed it. Because you can see when this one blinks, this one actually does. It's like the sides move, then the upper eyelid and bottom eyelid also move. At least I think the sides move, I'm not sure. It's kind of hard for me to check because every time I blink, I'm also like closing my eyes. Anyways, we want to track mouth open, mouth wide, not in, out, up, down. At least that's the plan. Then config values. Yeah, and then we can do target. Yeah, we can have target values. Okay, so let's do class target values. So this will be, we'll do var last value and then var target value. And because, yeah, we'll have to duck type it since we don't have generics, but this is where I would use generics if I had them. But unfortunately, that's how Python works. It's just duck typing. Yeah, so we'll need to put these back. So var translation. I should not like accidentally shadow. All right, so we'll do translation values, target values. I think I just heard you sip as I redeemed. Sorry. No, we'll take a drink of water. Thanks for redeeming a hydrate, Nova. Much appreciated. Delicious H2O. dioxygen monohydride. I don't know. No, usually when you hear me sipping, I'm actually sipping on an alcoholic beverage, which nowadays is mostly liquor. Yeah. Beer's a little too, I don't know, it's weird. I used to be able to drink like a ton, especially back when I was still in school. But now it's like whenever I drink like, you know, I have like 3 beers, I'm like, man, I'm starting to feel pretty bad. But hard liquor, I don't know. I feel like I can drink like a lot more of that. Probably because I'm like drinking it a lot slower. I don't know. Let's see, this is left eye values. Not sure what I got some water in yet. Yeah, probably. You know, probably what contributes to me not remembering what certain bits of code do. It's probably the entire drinking thing. You know, where we're trying to keep it at the Balmer peak. If you're into XKCD. Or spend any time on programming subreddits at all. But it's hard to say whether or not, or how effective that is, shall we say. Left eye rotation, right eye rotation. Then there is left eye blank values. Right eye blink values. These are all just going to be new values, so I'll just copy that. Let's see. Mouth open values. And then mouth wide values, I think. Yeah, that should be good, right? So that covers translation, rotation, left eye, right eye rotation, left eye, right eye blink, mouth open. Okay, cool. Got a blend in there? I do have a blend in there. Good catch, good catch. I blame my keyboard. Even though that's not a number. I think the only thing I can blame my keyboard is like the number keys, if I ever mess any of those up. Since I don't actually have access to number keys on my normal layout. Alright, so translation, interpolation, target value. So we don't actually want to use target values here. What we want to do, that's right, you got one of those tiny keyboards. I do, I have a plank keyboard. I believe you can actually just buy a pre-built, yeah, you can buy a pre-built plank easy, although I don't use the spacebar. I also don't use that exact layout either. So like I like having 2 shift keys, but you can see that this one doesn't have a right shift. Yeah, so if I want to use quotation, I actually have to go to layer 2. So my quotation mark is actually under my delete key, which is why sometimes you'll see me like accidentally delete something when I mean to use a quotation. Please. Like I'm small, not that small. It sounds lewd. No, it's okay. On my other computer, I actually use. Let me see. What is this called? Text something. Hold on, we can find it. Text keyboard. Keeb. What do I have? I think I have one of these as well. I did buy a pre-built because you can't. It's hard to find these just out in the wild. Yeah, a text shinobi. Look at that. And And C layout, of course, not ISO. Which is, this thing is just absolutely massive, since it's pretty much just the bottom plate of an old IBM ThinkPad, but with mechanical switches. It's pretty sick. So like, you can fit multiple plank keyboards. We'll just look at this. You can fit like 2.5 of these in one of these shells, basically. Like it's huge, and it's also like super sick. No, I wish more keyboards had support for the little ThinkPad nub, that little ThinkPad nipple, if you will, and also had like an integrated, you know, what are these called? Just mouse buttons? I guess they're mouse buttons. Pretty much, I just hate using my mouse. Where it's like, when I'm typing or when I'm programming, I don't want to take my hands off the keyboard, pretty much ever. Which is why I should probably learn Vim controls, but I don't know. I like using the mouse, but I don't like moving my hand off the keyboard, if that makes any sense. I like to think about layouts here. That's my daily driver for laptops. Nice, nice. I like the ThinkPad layout. My daily driver, though, if I had to use a laptop, would probably be a MacBook. I like the ThinkPad layout. I love the ThinkPad nub. But if we're just talking like laptops and random usability, yeah, I'm sorry. But it's gonna be a MacBook. I realize it's heresy in some parts, in some circles. Got a MacBook 2 before whatever reason. I don't really like the feel of their keys. Really? I actually really like their keys. For laptop keys, it's hard to beat a MacBook, in my opinion. Unless you were like using a laptop that has actual switches. Like I know that there's some gaming laptops. I think like Asus makes them with Cherry MX Browns. P target, left eye rotation. Although I have been burned by MacBook keys before as well. Like I had a MacBook Pro back in like 2017 when they were using just those awful, what are they called? Those really bad keyboard switches. Like I liked how it felt, but like I had it fail twice on me. I was like, this sucks, because they'd always need to take it in and get it replaced. But because they couldn't just replace it, right? Because it's built into the shell, they'd just be, all right, leave it with us for like a week and we'll just get you another one. All right, well. I guess. But no, I don't have a... I have one of those, the M1 Max, which is actually super sick. I eventually traded in that old MacBook Pro. I think it might have been as powerful as the M1 I have right now, though. So, whatever. The only unfortunate part is that this piece of software here does not actually run on the M1 Mac. Because I don't believe OpenCV is... Or if you're using OpenCV on an M1 Mac, you need to compile it yourself. So I don't really feel like doing that. Target value, boom. Chiclet, yeah. No, chiclet keys are the standard ones, right? Chiclet keys. But it's the switches. So there's the scissor switches, which are the good ones. And then there's the other one. The only thing that's coming to mind, though, is like origami switches, but that doesn't make any sense. Right, that's not chiclet. What were the scissors, switch, keyboard versus... Oh, butterfly, butterfly. Why was I thinking origami? Is there a game that has like a an origami butterfly? But yeah. It's the butterfly switches. Like, I liked how they felt, but they were just too fragile to like just getting like random pieces of dirt in them. Making origami butterflies. I don't know how to make an origami butterfly, but I could probably learn. I used to know how to make like origami roses just from memory. I know that there's a method to it, so you actually don't even need to memorize how to fold an origami rose, or like pretty much any sort of origami, because there's some math to it. Oh, hello, Karina, thank you very much for the raid. How are you doing tonight, today, morning? What you doing? What I am doing is I'm working on this application here. So what I'm trying to do is add like better mouth tracking. So right now it only tracks how wide your mouth is, and then also does some very basic lip syncing as well. Although the lip sync algorithm is super scuffed, but from far away it doesn't look that bad. But what I want to do is make it so, because you can see that based off of what I'm saying, it's trying to map the actual mouth shape. So we have a few mouth shapes. We have A, E, I, O, and U. So this is more phonetic, so it's A, E, I, O, U. So there is a way to map it, so I've narrowed it down to just checking the mouth open value and the mouth wide value, because I believe those are composites based off of the in-outs left and up-down, left and right, which should be tagged to these values here in the corners. I believe, I'm not super sure, I didn't write the algorithm. Click on the renderer. Thank you, much appreciated. I try my best. But right now what I'm doing is I've kind of realized that this entire file wasn't really meant to handle all this data. So I'm refactoring it really quickly. And by really quickly, I mean that I've spent like almost 1.5 hours on it. Yeah, but you know, I think this is good. Probably just need to fix the rest of the stuff. So last translation, this is probably incorrect. Yeah, but the hope is once I get this done, I can cut an 081 release, which should also just have way better... What the heck? Okay. Thought I heard a loud beeping, but maybe that was just me. Yeah. 081 release of this piece of software should bring just way better Linux support. I actually forget all the things that I've changed. It's been a little bit since I've been putting off the Linux testing for a while. It's tough. Now, why did I do this in 2 steps? I have no idea. You know what? I think this is actually not correct. Like, this function has never been correct. Yeah. Yeah, this function's never been correct. Yeah. Hold on. I'm realizing now that this is totally incorrect. But because it's not strictly typed, it's just using static typing for type hints. You can see here that this is supposed to return a vector 3, but we're also handling eye blinks, right? Eye blinks are floats. So it's returning a float. Do I ever use this? Hold on, that doesn't seem right. That's not right. I guess we'll just duck type it. All right, welcome to duck typing. I don't remember why this is necessary. It's probably because of, why is it returning a value? I think it's here, yeah. So the left eye rotations rely on, yeah. Okay, and then this is the eye blink. Interesting. I wish there was stricter typing. That's painful. But we'll lerp V. It's the translation values. Last value. Translation values. Target value, or target translation. Target value times just their basic damp modifier. And then add in the base interpolation rate. Base interpolation rate. All right, that is probably correct. And then we need to store the calculated results here, yeah. Yeah, so base interpolation, no, this is translation values, last value is equal to result. Okay, so that should be okay. And then we'll get a lot of these values for free as well. So let's grab this. We can just copy and paste at this point, probably. Just need to make sure to sub in the correct values. So that's rotation values. Rotation values, rotation values. Or actually, couldn't I could optimize, I could super optimize this. So is there any reason for me not to? Or is there any reason for me to explicitly do the calculation in each of these match arms? I don't think there is. Okay. So give me 1 sec. So there's the results. Then we'll want to have our temporary reference to a value. Of course, in Godot, you can't specify a reference. You just kind of have to assume that you're not just copying a value. So your values, and then your interpolation, I suppose. Or I guess, yeah, your values and your rates, right? And so here, we'll keep this for a little bit. So values will be equal to rotation values, and then your rates will be equal to base interpolation. Yeah, something like that. Right, and then we'll grab all of this, slap it down to the very bottom, and then we'll use values, last value, values, and then this is your rates, right? And we can actually use strict typing here, or static typing, not strict typing. So these will be your target values. This will be your config values, more or less. Yeah, that seems right. Values is equal to, this is left eye, rotation values. Your rates will be equal to gaze interpolation. All right. Yeah, so this will be right eye rotation, or there's no such thing as left eye. Okay, no, there is, yeah. So this is right eye rotation values. Yeah, okay. Rates equals to gaze interpolation. All right, let's preemptively get rid of all of these. So values, this is left eye blink values. Rates is blink interpolation. Do the same thing here. Values, this is mouth open values. Yeah, mouth open values. Rates is mouth interpolation. Yeah. Then this is mouth wide values. Okay. Then all of these should be roughly the same. So this is values, translation values. Rates is base interpolation. Yeah. Look at that. I think that feels a lot better, and then we just do the calculation at the very end. Now we're running into errors in several places. What is your problem? Interpolation data. This can be fully loaded because we have errors elsewhere. Where? Why? ¿Dónde está? Is it? It says I have an error here. Interpolation data cannot be fully loaded. Yeah, that makes sense. How about you? Got anything? That's one of the problems of using an external editor, is that sometimes, yeah, things will get stuck. Okay, it got stuck here. So this is OpenSea data. Features mouth wide. Should be fine, which means that we can then run it, which means we can also open this back up. All right, so send me. Stop this tracker. This is like the surprise Pikachu face. All right, send me. Invalid type in function. Cannot convert argument 1 from nil to float. Where? Invalid type. This is an interpolation data. Oh, did I? Oh, I see. I think. Oh, I remember. Oh, yeah. So this is how I automatically hook everything up. So did interpolate model ever exist? What is interpolate model? So this connects to on toggle interpolation. What? Wait, what was the error? This doesn't make any sense. So invalid type in function onset interpolation rate cannot convert argument 1 from nil to float. Argument 1. Argument 1. What is our current model config? So we go into app manager, config manager, current model config. This is mouth open interpolation rates. Oh, you know what? This might not have a mouth open interpolation rate. Oh, because it doesn't exist. Because it's a new value. Oh, yeah. And actually, this should be called like mouth interpolation rate. Yeah. All right. So we need to change a few things. So this mouth interpolation rate. Then we'll go into our config manager. Where is it? Mouth interpolation rate. Mouth. Wait, what? Oh, I changed that. Oh yeah, I changed that. I broke that. Okay, cool. So now we're here. Go into presets. Load this. Now we're really close to the camera. Turn on the tracker. Cannot convert argument 1 from nil to floats. Oh, because these don't have default values, and now the tracker is going to be broken. All right, hold on. Send me facetracker.exe. Send it. All right, so we do need to have default values for our target values. That's hard because I don't know what the default value is supposed to be. I guess what we can do is we can almost type hint it with an init function. So init. So we'll have, this is basically a type hint, right? So last v, target v. We actually have no idea what these are supposed to be. But then last value is equal to last v. Then target value is equal to target v. Let's see, translation values, these are vector 3s. So we can pass in a vector 3 0, just to type hint it. Gotta head on, got ready to learn some more Godot. Your stream goes well. Thanks Noah for hanging out, much appreciated. Hope your stream goes well. If there's anyone still hanging out here, I'll be sure to send them your way, I suppose. Yeah, take it easy. So do all this. Yeah, it's not really a type hint, but it's at least a good generic value. I'm not sure. I don't remember how I set these initially. On toggle. Oh, it's because of, I used to set the defaults there, but now I just need to set the defaults here instead. Okay. All right, send me. Now we're interpolating. It's also very slow. That's probably okay. We'll load in something else. Ah, geez. So now this is called mouth movements. Oh, okay. So we're broken again. Give me one second. Face tracker exe. Kill that. We'll go to mouth open, mouth wide. So now we need to. This is why I wanted to rewrite this in like C# or something. I think that's okay. I'm pretty sure that's it. Hopefully. Maybe. Send me. Alright, load me in to Alicia. Too close to the camera. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Why are these values so cursed? And we're also not able to like interpolate at all. Are these interpolation values kind of messed up? I mean, that would make sense. Nope. We're just not interpolating at all? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. So what happened? I think one is that we're printing out too much data. I don't actually need to know anymore. Let's go to, yeah, get rid of all the print statements. So is the interpolation data just wrong? So interpolation data. How did I ever set this before? So that's, Are you interpolating every frame? I am interpolating every frame. That doesn't make sense. Well, It should make sense because that's actually how this currently works. So this is actually interpolating every frame. So the interpolation has to happen because we are only receiving updates 12 frames a second. So we don't want to set it to the actual frame rate, right? Because otherwise then the model will just be moving at 12 frames a second. So what we're interpolating for is trying to make up for the fact that we're tracking at a very slow frame rate. Right? So instead of needing to track at 60 frames a second, you only need to track at 12 or potentially like 4, right? I think 4 is the lowest that's usable, in my opinion, but you can track it lower, I guess. You know, I'm not your boss. Yeah, and then we're stretching out these 12 frames out to like 60 frames a second, basically. So I think that's correct. Give me one sec. I realize that I don't actually have my stream manager on. Let's see. So why am I not getting the correct data anymore? So what happened here? Okay. This interpolation data should all be correct, which means that it's something in here. Well, no. These values should all be correct as well. These are just hooked up to whatever's... yeah. These are just hooked up to UI elements, so that shouldn't make a difference. This one... Isn't it the wait a minute. I am setting the target values. Am I not? Target values. So on our first update value, then we should set all of our... Yeah, we should set all our target values immediately. Take that out. There's something wrong with either this function or this function. I don't know which one though. Is it the... Possibly it's the lerp function that's wrong. So this is the last value, the target value times your damp modifier times your given interpolation rate. That seems correct. Yeah? Did I translate this correctly? So values is translation values, and that takes care of your last translation and your target translation. And then rates is set to whatever your base rate or whatever your rate is supposed to be. So for translation and rotation, that's base. Left eye rotation, right eye rotation, that's your gaze. Blink is your blink. Mouth open is, or mouth is your mouth, right? And then those are all based off of last value. Yeah, these are all just based off of, yeah, the calculation is the same for each of these. Where's rate defined? Rate's defined at the very top of the file. So that, I've done a lot of rewriting here. So these are your config values, aka your interpolation rates. And they're called config values because they're also saved to your configuration. So it's allowed me to, yeah. Once we take out all the comments, it should be a lot cleaner. So it's constant. It's not necessarily constant. They're also based off of the UI elements as well. So you can see here on the left, we have global interpolate model, which is your base interpolation rate. Interpolate gaze, interpolate blinking, interpolate mouth. So that allows for overrides. And then this is just hooking up all of the... That's just hooking up all the stuff. So... Let me see. Are they hooked? They're hooked up correctly. Yeah. Interpolate mouth. Yeah, and then this is mouth interpolation rate. Blinking. Gaze. Bone interpolate. And then just regular interpolation rate. Yeah. Can you run it again without the print flood? Yeah, I can. I don't think it's gonna... I haven't changed anything, so nothing will change, but... I don't think that there's any errors, either. Let me see if I can remove a preset. Let me remove this preset. So delete. So load. VRM models, Alicia, VRM. Ah! Yeah, that's fine. Why did I log that as an error? That should not be an error. FPS was low, so well, I don't think that makes a huge difference, but this looks... This doesn't even look like it's interpolating, actually. Oh, geez. Okay, well now that we're not interpolating anything at all. This is just raw values. So this is actually what this looks like, by the way. Also no longer able to click on the window. That was weird. Yeah, so if I wasn't interpolating every frame, this is what this would look like. And then you have the weird dichotomy of like super choppy whatever, along with the hair that is actually animating pretty fluidly. But this is, you might notice that it is anime frame rate, but you might notice that it's actually tracking a lot closer to my real movements as well. Like this is like almost exact, 1-to-1 to like my actual movements. So that's why you have the ability to set like your mouth interpolation different. So track eye. We want to track eye. We want to use our raw eye rotation. Yeah, look at that. So this actually, I don't know, maybe I should actually lower my base interpolation rate normally, but... And then, hold on. Kill the tracker. What's the standard anime frame rate? It's like 24 frames a second? Look at that. Look at that. Double the frame rate. It looks okay. I mean, it's kind of like super sharp. It's not bad though. It's not bad. I guess we're also not... Oh yeah, we're not lip syncing. Anime is more like 12. Anime is not 12 frames a second. Anime is not... Is anime 12 frames a second? There's no way. And normal anime FPS. 24, yeah. Well, at least cinema. Yeah. And where anime runs at 24 frames a second with main object animated 8 to 12. Okay, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 24 is movie. Yeah, okay. So anime is actually lower. You're right. You're right. Interesting. You know, I didn't know that. I did not know that. I thought anime was at 12, but I thought anime was at 24, like a standard movie. But I guess like the actual show runs at 24, and then they just kind of animates things kind of weirdly offset, I suppose. That's cool. Oh, yeah, but this is not actually testing anything. This is actually just using raw interpolation. That's so weird though. Like, look, there is a little bit of movements. 12 is more like drawn by hands. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Screen with some blur artifacts. Makes sense. I'm trying to figure out, because also I'm not able to use the debugger because I'm using a thread, and Godot usually freaks out if you use a debugger while you're running a thread. There are cool tricks where they interpolate motion. Yeah. I've seen the things. I've seen some of the things, and also why you shouldn't be watching anime at 60 frames a second. Stop the tracker. I'm not sure what happened. So there's something that's different. Yeah, I usually run at 12, by the way. Let's see. What's going on here? It must be the actual interpolation values that it's giving me back. Right? Because when I turn off the interpolation, or wait a minute, is it just because I'm getting garbage? The data that's currently there is garbage. That might be it. That doesn't seem right. Is it the damp? Is it the dampening? So if I set global, yeah, global. If you set global interpolation rate to 1, then nothing happens. Then you're not interpolating. Well, also because wait, that was weird. 1. We set it back to just a very low value. This is essentially 0. This is 1. No, the values it's giving me are just garbage for some reason. Why is it giving me garbage? Oh, jeez. He set it to 2. That's really good. That's really good. I like that. Oh, that brings me so much joy. That's great. Doesn't that mean if actually these are all using the same values, which means that yeah, if I'm using raw eye rotation, it should also be interpolating at that rate, maybe? I don't know. I kind of like this though, it's very cursed. It's extremely cursed, that's great. Hello. I heard you like anime girls. Alright, go back to China Doll. Is that racist? So I wonder. It's more like cartoon, yeah, I guess. Last value. So it should be lerp. We lerp from the last value to our target value multiplied by our damp modifier. Where a damp modifier is just, yeah, it's given to us by whatever. Yeah, I mean that's correct. I don't really have a good way of going back, but I don't know. Let's check. Last value is correct. Yeah, I guess I need to check the value here. So values. So print, let's do last. pretty sure that's actually a vector 3. So target. So this is a string, values, last value, values, target value. Okay. Alright, so let's give this a try. Set model as default. Start the tracker. Ah! Not enough arguments. What do you mean? Oh, I did that wrong. I did that wrong, and now we need to close it manually. Yeah, there we go. That should be okay. There we go. Start the tracker. Oh. Oh. It's always 0. Why? Doesn't that imply that it's creating a... It's copying. It's creating a copy. But what I want is a reference. Oh, it's a translation values. It's a translation values. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is a reference. Yeah. There we go. And I never noticed anything being wrong because I don't actually translate on this model. All right, there we go. All right, that looks pretty good, I guess. Pretty sick. All right. Cool, 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 cool. So I think we can call refactoring. Refactoring's good. Boom. Dun, dun, dun. Take out the notes. All right, we're just cleaning up the rest of the stuff. Boom, boom. Okay. It's looking pretty good, I think. That's technically unused. Boom, boom. Yeah. I think that looks pretty good. All right. Now that we're actually also interpolating mouth open and mouth closed, or mouth open and mouth wide, refactoring success, yeah, it feels pretty good. It feels pretty good when refactoring goes as planned. So git status, git restore, dev UI. What happened in dev UI? Git diff utils GUI. I don't actually use dev UI anymore anyways. Git restore. Be very careful. Specifically dev UI text scene. Hey? Alright. That looks pretty good, I guess. Alright, we can just send it. So git commit. I'm still thinking I should port your game to Godot 4. You could try. I mean, it's making pretty good progress, except for like, I guess the scripting is pretty rough. I I was thinking about porting this, like just or rewriting this for Godot 4, but I'm pretty sure if I rewrite this, it's gonna have to be in C#. I really need static typing for this. I'm a little baby. Basic character only, it's a physics game. Yeah, isn't like Godot 4 physics is supposed to be pretty good? Interpolation data. That's a very complex physics. Physics scare me. I think anything that's more or less raw math. Very, very scary. Very bad at numbers. I'm very good at variables. Once we start assigning actual values to the variables, or we need to keep track of like, all right, you know, what is, you know, 69 times 420. I'm like, I don't know, you're asking the wrong person. Springs and 12 rigid bodies attached together. Is it like a spider? You're like a spider game? Perhaps like you're some sort of like caterpillar, a soft body. So are you playing as like a spider? Whenever I hear like a bunch of things connected to each other, the first thing I think of is like you're either a spider or like a caterpillar. It's like a water body. Oh, okay. So it's like a weird raft game, I guess. Okay, I got you. Or X in. Okay, hold on. So I'll run through everything, and then we'll have to interpolate based off of your mouth open and mouth wide values. So your open and close shapes. Okay, so I need to store that. Mouth open, which is a float. Interpolation data. Interpolate. Interpolation data, mouth open. I don't remember why this is 2. I don't remember why it's 2, but we're just gonna slap it in there. Platform, I created a class that creates the ball and scripts full procedural. Oh baby. I feel like that's actually where Godot kind of suffers, is doing things like completely via scripts. I feel like that's, I don't know. I feel like a lot of Godot actually kind of relies on doing things via the editor. Otherwise, you're going to be in a lot of pain. You know, then it's impossible to create that. Yeah. I'm just saying, in general, that like trying to do everything completely procedurally can be kind of tough in Godot. Because it's just like, it feels like the engine kind of fights against you. It's like, no. Have you considered doing things using the editor? I'm like, absolutely not. Or maybe that's just me being a baby. There's many problems, yeah. But that's also why like editor scripts are also like really easy to use, I guess. I don't know. I don't really have like a well thought out opinion. All I know is that like from the time I've used Godot, I felt like it's like almost intentionally hard to just use or just do everything via code. In this game, not the engine fights, but the editor. Oh, okay. Interesting. In this case, you know, in this case, in this game, that's pretty much the same, same idea. Okay, so based off of your mouth open and mouth wide values, what would you expect? What would you expect to be the biggest ones? So O, O, E, U. How would you rank these? Yeah, also, damped spring body can't be changed at runtime. Really? What's a spring body? Oh no, reload me. What's a spring body? I don't know what that is. Because it's not implemented that way? Sounds tough. Damp spring? Spring. Is it a spring arm? Damp spring. It was a spring joint. Oh, damped spring joint. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I did not know this existed. Yeah. You know, like I guess this is one of those things that you just need to go into the engine and change yourself, I guess. Can't be that hard, right? Since it doesn't really have that many... Yeah, it doesn't even have any methods, so it should be pretty easy to manipulate, I suppose. Yeah, I feel like if you're changing something at like the visual server level, you'll have a lot of problems. But something that's that far out, because like, look at that, that's a few layers deep, and it looks like it's really only used for, I guess, joints, which could be pretty complicated, I suppose. I don't really know anything about how the joints work, but, you know, it shouldn't be that tough. Needs to be updated in the physics server. You know, physics server is scary. Yeah. Anything. Well, I feel like any of the server level things are pretty scary, because they could have unintended consequences if you're editing things in place. Whereas, you know, the thing that I was editing, it was just a new function, so it didn't touch anything else besides just sending a raw pointer over to another program, of course. But anyways, let's rank these. So so I think so it's, so if I had to rank these 1 to 5, right? So I think that's the highest. I suppose we'll go highest this way. E, no. E, U. I guess this isn't really something that you can rank on a 1 to 5 scale either. It's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, hold on. We need a box. I need more room. Need more room. This is possibly one of my favorite features. This is why I still use MS Paint. It's because you can just dynamically resize documents really, really easily. The best part. Alright, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pretty much it. All right, I need to graph this out for myself. What is 1, 2, 3? So I'm trying to rank mouth open versus mouth wide, right? Because I'm not sure, right? Because if you do E and U, those are actually at different points of the spectrum. So I need to map this out. Because the only things I have to compare against are mouth open and mouth wide. So I think for mouth open, so this is guess we'll do this as wide. This can be open. Well, yeah, this should be wide. This should be open. Something like that. So o. Maybe this? Is it gonna be helpful? Is this or is this just like a very complicated Rickroll? Oh, okay, sick. Well, I mean, this doesn't really help for this ranks I. Oh, this is I. This is E. Yeah, this is not phonetic. I need phonetic. The I sound, at least here, represents like E. I is pronounced E. So if we do this, so turn off lip sync. Wait, is this I? This might just be I. That's ah. I don't know. Maybe this is not representative. Send me back to this one. This is E, right? E. E. Eh. Oh. Yeah. Rabbit. Ooh. Yeah. So this is basically what I'm basing it off of. Okay. So let's try that. That's what I'm basing it off of. Is that I is usually the E sound actually, because it's phonetic, right? So we'll put as just the highest. I think o. O is less wide, but like still open. Something like that. This one. Is it phonetic? I need something that's phonetic. not something that's based off of just English. What the heck? How do you? I don't know how to read this though. G? Is this G? How do you pronounce AE? This also appears to have like a tongue shape as well, but I don't. I suppose it's close. Yeah, it is phonetic. E. I don't know what curly E is. Ooh. Where's ah? Which one of these is ah? Is this ah? Upside down lambda or weird incomplete lambda? It's A and E. Eh. Oh, then this is, well, what does A and E sound like? A? A? Is A and E A? What is O with an umlaut? Oh, that's not an umlaut. Which one of these is O? That doesn't look like O. Also, U seems wrong. Yeah, that's what I'm confused about. I don't know. I don't know how to read this. I think I'm just gonna keep doing this by my own pronunciation. Because I know what phonetic sounds like. Because Spanish is phonetic. And I believe Japanese is also roughly phonetic as well, for the most part. O, eh. Alright, I don't know where eh is, but oo. Oh geez, oo. E. E is like here. Okay. So now I have I have 3 corners. Is there anything that's just full open? Oh. O. 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 I guess O is like what, like these parts in here, right? That's roughly it. So this should probably be closer to A? I don't know, man. Eh? Where does eh? So ah is full wide, full open. O is full open. O. Well, I guess O is somewhere in the middle as well. Then eh. Eh. Ah, O, eh. U. Yeah, E is like just in the middle somewhere, isn't it? So it almost goes in like this direction. I should do this in a different color. It almost goes in like this direction. Something like that. Yeah, ah. No, it's you don't say A, E, A. It's ah, eh, ah, eh, ah, eh, ah, eh. I feel like E is probably closer to here. And the reason why I'm doing it 1 to 5 is because I can split these up into segments, right? So here I can split this because this is a value from 0 to 1, I think. I think this is split up into 0 to 1. I'm not sure. I should probably verify that math. Or this is open. D, then wide. Mouth open, mouth wide. Give this a try. Stop the tracker. Start the tracker. Modify blend shape. Really? Interpolation data type. Translation. Yeah, that's right. Throat? Throats. It's a throat that makes the difference between A and E, or E and A? Yeah, I guess. Well, also, when you say make the E sound to eh, ah, E, ah, eh, eh. I guess you could do like a full mouth. Ah. Yeah. When I think of aw, I'm doing more of like a mouth fully open as opposed to an eh, which is more of a ah. You can do the same ah with a not fully open mouth, but yeah, E is closer to like more half open, where ah is more like full open. Although I guess that does tie more into your accents, I suppose. But I have a my accent is pretty close to neutral American, so I am not worried about that. I'm not worried about my accent being a problem. It's one of the benefits of growing up in the US. One of the most neutral accents that most people are aware of, I guess. At least in the West. Yeah. When I was in Malaysia, though, people thought I was Australian. Or had an Australian accent, which I thought was hilarious. Absolutely not. Last value on base nil. So interpolation data type, by the way. Oh, this is using none? Hold on, what? Oh, I see. I see. There we go. What? You know, Windows 11 removed that taskbar, right-click the task manager? Did they really? That sounds super painful. Why would I want to do that? Well, how do you access the task manager in Windows 11? Oh, this is just a 1 or a 0? What? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right at all. It should not be interpolating to full values. Eh? Gonna start menu, make people rage about that change? Yeah, I think I would hate that. Like, let me see. Control Alt Delete for me would also be pretty tough. Yeah, okay, no, I got it. Control Alt Delete would be a four button press because plank keyboard, as mentioned a million times before. So in order to press that, yeah, I would need to do Control Alt, layer up, delete. Yeah, I had to think about that. You might notice that some keys, I might press them by accident a lot. That's because I need to press layer down K to hit equals, layer down M to hit underscore, which is why sometimes you'll see I'll accidentally type in a K or an M. I'll make a custom keyboard for myself. Oh, have you seen, it's been making the rounds, actually. It's been making the rounds on news outlets, but it's, let me see if I can find it. I think it was on r/mechanical keyboards. It might not have been. Let me see. This one. I want to make this one. Not this one. This one. Look at that. This one looks super sick. So it's a little Pi 0, but it uses Kali chocolate switches, which are mechanical, but they're low profile mechanical switches. That looks sick. And it uses the plank layout as well. But this one is completely custom. So I'm not, I was thinking about, like, I could do it, and especially since it's open source, right? So all the source files are here, but I don't know how to print a PCB. I don't know anything about printing PCBs. So like, I'm not sure how you would, I don't know how you would make it work. Like, I know how to print the rest of the stuff. I even know how to solder, kind of. I'm not very good at it. But printing a PCB, that sounds tough. This looks sick, though. I was like, man, if I was ever going to build my own board or my own keyboard, it would be that one. 3D printing is easy when you have the models. Yeah, well, yeah, but it's like fabricating the PCB that I'm, like, confused about. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, because the STL models, yeah, they're provided. I know that much. Ah. Oh, right. Face tracker, end task. Send me back. This needs to be format string. Send me. Start the tracker. Okay. Oh, this can go higher than 1. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm also probably printing this in the worst way possible. Okay, hold on. Give me a sec. I think electronic builder companies can do PCB when you give them blueprints. Okay, maybe I'll look into that. Like I would love to have like just like a, even though it's running on a basically a Pi 0, so it's super underpowered. I think that could be really cool. It's just like a little Emacs thingy. Like all it does is it just runs Emacs. I'd be into it. Or just runs Vim. Your editor of choice. Really? What values does this go from and to? I'm so confused. Yeah, the cool keyboard, full custom your own, even firmware. Yeah, well, I don't know if I want to do full custom firmware. That sounds tough. I think if I was building my own keyboard, I would just use QMK because that's the most common one. And I already have the QMK files for my Planck keyboard that I could flash on there. What does a negative value mean? I thought this only went from 1 to 0, by the way. But as it turns out, it goes from almost 2 to -2. That might be a problem on my end when I'm deserializing the data. Oh, is that why I clamp it? Oh, that is why I... Oh, no, I kind of clamp it. I pseudo clamp it. Because I clamp it to the min-max values of the blend shape. That's tough, though. All right, well, we try with ABS, absolute. Well, why would I want an absolute value? Since I do need to have the ability to do, like, fine-grain control, if that makes sense. Right, because if you want to do, like, your mouth is a little open, you wouldn't want to just ping pong between like full open, full not open, right? That's kind of what happens already with lip syncing. So when you lip sync, it actually adjusts your mouth shape to the max value possible. So I don't want to do absolute. I think I need to analyze. I need to analyze the value. The min and max value of, I guess I'll just do it based off A, but that's probably not a good idea. I need to grab the min max value. Oh no, but I need to grab the min max value. Oh, because it's based off of the mouth shape. So I actually can't do it even here. I need to do this in a separate step. Because what I'm talking about here, right, is that based off of this value, current mouth shape, I'm then running through all the possible morph values, aka the blend shapes assigned to the mouth, because some models have more than one blend shape assigned for mouth movement, which makes sense. So I need to assign the current mouth shape first, which means I need to pre-calculate the, yeah, okay. I'm not sure, I still need to figure out what the negative value means though. So I make a kissy face. I don't think I can go below -2, because that's pretty much the most I can purse my lips. Yeah, the most I can hit is -1.9. I saw a -1.9 there. Then if I do like a... Yeah, if I do like a chipmunk, puff my cheeks out, I can almost hit 1. I think I can hit more than 1 sometimes. And then mouth open, if I'm pursing my lips, pretty much almost hits -2. If I unhinge my jaw, which I can't, I'm not a snake, not yet, then I can almost hit 2. Interesting. Open max. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing, right? So you can see here for, the mouth open value, I'm doing the max of this value and then the min between those values, which is correct. I'm pretty sure the values are stored oppositely, if that makes any sense. I don't know why they're opposites. But this doesn't really help me all that much. Let's see. I think this makes sense. I need to calculate the current mouth shape somehow. Probably using that same algorithm I came up with before. Well, it's not the algorithm, but it's more of like the idea. Which is, we'll just kind of run through this kind of gate of logic. So the more we shift, I need to grab the open max and open min for, probably we'll just base it off of and then we'll base the rest of our calculation based off that. Otherwise, I'm not sure how you would calculate that, considering that I'm changing the value dynamically. That's tough. That's tough. Where is this set? This is set in, yeah, lip sync updated. Yeah. So lip sync updated. Yeah. We just kind of wiggle your. Yeah. When we receive a lip sync update, we'll immediately update, I guess. I guess also I should have a flag that's like don't immediately update the mouth. Or maybe we can. I don't know. Go think about that. We'll see how that works with lip syncing at least. So we have our mouth open, mouth wide values, and then this is our kind of weird matrix of mouth open and mouth wide values that we can process against. So I'm thinking, what's a good way of doing this? I think what I want to do is have a rolling. No, we don't want to have a rolling mouth max, mouth min value. How would you do that? I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Ignore this part. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it. Wouldn't I want to have 0 is U, 1 is O? I think 1 is, well, not necessarily, because there's two axes I need to keep track of. I think this makes sense. The difference between O and Ah is the only one that's kind of suspect. I guess if we want to simplify it, right? If we wanted to simplify it, we could just do. We could do it like this. So this would be our matrix now. So, that's actually not totally true, I suppose, but if you are, the closer you are to this quadrant, I guess the more O you are. Or we'll just switch you at some points. What it will actually more look like is probably this. Is U, E, O, A. So it'll be very hard to just be an sound, I suppose. Or make your, it's not based off the sounds, right? It's just based off of what your mouth shape looks like, based off of how wide or how not wide your mouth is. Maybe. Maybe we will keep it at the extremes and then we'll just kind of like Everything will just be Maybe I should clamp this. Like the problem is I don't know what the max value is. I don't know what the max value is supposed to be. Let's look. Open C face. Oh. Hold on. Since you have a wide and open, maybe it's an array of lerps. Don't know how. An array of lerps. What do you mean? What do you mean? An array of lerps. What am I lerping to? What am I lerping to? Like I can't. Are you suggesting that I change all of the mouse shapes all at the same time? You can use wide and open lerps separately. What am I lerping to? I don't know what I'm lerping to. So I'm lerping from some value to some other value, but where does wide and open... Where does that come into play? Like, I'm already lerping, right? I'm already interpolating them based off of the previous value I receive. So it's already dampened. Is that what you're talking about, or? Lerping is 1 to 0 when it's min or max. Why am I min or maxing it though? I guess I don't understand how that relates. What am I lerping though? Like what? Sure, I can lerp from 1 to 0, but these values aren't 1 to 0. These values are for like. These values can be negative. These values can be negative up to like 2. It's like 2 to negative 2 for some reason. So where does 1 to 0 come into play here? And then the mouse shapes, I'm not even sure what the mouse shapes are supposed to be. I don't even know what these max values are. Because I'm pretty sure they differ by model, maybe. Or at least some models have different constraints. The value is lerp t. Yeah, I know how lerping works, but what am I lerping? Like you can't just say that. You gotta lerp something. What am I lerping? I'm a lerping of value from 0 to 1. Yeah, but like which values, and then how am I applying that value? Lerp t. It's the 0 to 1. What am I? Yeah, are you just telling me you know what a lerp is? Yeah, that is kind of correct. You've missed the part where it's adjusted by a float value, but more or less, I guess. I don't quite understand. I don't know how that relates to any of this. I think what this is makes more sense to me because we can, based off of the min or max value, right, we can find our value on this chart. So if we calculate, like we have a value that's near 0, value that's near 0 for wide, value that's near 0 for open, then we can calculate that we're probably going to be here, right? Can I get like a highlighter? Isn't there a highlighter brush? Maybe not. We'll be here, 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 here. And then I guess there's also the wiggle room here, 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 here. Yeah, I guess then there's like the wiggle room here. That's tough. I don't know. Yeah. So based off of this, those values, I guess I have some animation tools for that. Maybe use it. What is that? What is that? What are we doing? I need specificity at this point in my life. I think what I want to try to do right now is try to convert this to 0 to 1, just because it's easier. And then the cutoff points will have to be 0.33, 0.66, right? So this will be roughly, yeah, 0.33 to 0.66. 0.33, 0.66 will be E. Yeah, I think on that quadrant that makes sense. But if you're below, if you're from 0 to 0.33, but you're greater than 0.66 on your wide axis, I'll move your mouth expression over to I, or I guess to E. Okay. So, thinking. I mean, the blend space 2D of animation tree. Oh, an animation tree, yes. See, the problem, yeah, I've had this suggested to me before, but this only works. This only works, by the way. Oh, geez. This only works if you are able to do this manually. I don't know how you would dynamically set up an animation tree. It looks very tough to do that, which is why I've decided to do it completely manually. Yeah. So how do you create new animation tree nodes? Is there a tutorial on that? I didn't find anything. Yeah, and if you say like you got to click it in the editor, please note that I cannot do that because there are almost no guarantees about what these models have, or even what the model things are called. So unless there's a way for me, unless there's a way for me to set up the animation tree in the editor and then link those things back to the model at runtime, right? Because yeah, I could use an animation tree just for this model, but then what, right? How would I load in different models? I would need to create a new animation tree for every single model, which is not usable for this use case because the intent is that you should just be able to load in whatever model that you want without having to do anything. So that's why I'm trying to at least make a best guess. Right, I guess if you wanted to do an animation tree, this application does support just loading in random Godot scene files, .scn, completely packed. Yeah, I don't know how I would use an animation tree. Yeah, don't worry, it's been suggested. It's been suggested, and I've determined it to be completely infeasible. At least for dynamic models. So I know what the format is, but the format only specifies that certain things be present. Yeah. It does not specify how they should be named, which is very annoying. So let's see. I guess we'll process mouth open first. So we'll do this very basically. So if mouth open is less than 0.33, I guess we'll do less than equal to, right? Pass elif mouth open less than 0.66. Where is it? 0.66? Actually, because this is the hardest one, the middle is the hardest one to get to, right? Because I'm also right now not clamping it. All right. That's okay. I just need to get something down so I can visualize it, and then we can refactor later. LF mouth. Did I type wise? Wide. I still haven't converted it to a 0 to 1 scale, which I probably should do, but I don't know what the max value is. Because I noticed I was never able to really get to the max value either. I guess we can just do it like this. That's okay. It'll be more biased, because I'm pretty sure the max value is greater than 1. So it'll be a bit biased to like mouth open, but that's probably okay. So considering that we are processing mouth open first, I don't know. I don't know. I guess we can have a separate variable. So like open strength. I'm not sure how to map this out. Like what I'm kind of envisioning is like a tuple. But we can do like mouth scale. So it'll be a vector 2. Vector 2 0. Take the max value when it exceeds the current max value adjustment. Yeah, but the problem is I'm not sure what will happen then. Right? Because what if the tracker bugs out? Then your mouth will just be like, all right, what the tracker accidentally sends me like, oh, like your mouth is open like at strength 3. Then what? Then you'll never be able to fully open your mouth ever again. You know? So like then I would need to like have some sort of logic to like, you know, slowly kind of like have a rolling max value so it scales up and down based off of like the last 5 things. But then that's starting to get very complicated, right? That's starting to get extremely complicated because now I need to keep a rolling count of the last 5 average values, right? Or last 10 or however many. And also remember that I'm doing this 60 frames a second, I think. Am I doing this 60 frames a second? I'm doing this pretty fast. Yeah, I actually am. I am updating the model 60 frames a second, yeah. But I am only tracking at 12 frames a second, which is what the interpolation is for. So I could have a rolling average, sure. That seems very annoying to do though. Let me just get something working first, and then we can work on the rolling average. It'll match on mouth scale. I don't know if this will work. This seems very strange. Yeah, this is not a good idea. We should do mouse scale X. This is an integer 0. Yeah, because I think we might run into like a floating point thingy at some point. Oh, but then there's no... There's no tuples. You don't have tuples in GDScript. Ah, okay. I guess we'll just do something super gross. If mouth scale X is 1. Yeah, I guess what we can actually do, yeah. So this will be 1, 1. and mouth scale y is equal to 1, then current mouth shape. All right, where do I set the mouth shape? Mouth shape. So current mouth shape, and then we do need to set the last mouth shape to. Yeah, we do need to unset the last mouth shape as well. Last shape, otherwise we start getting like really weird things. So what I meant by this whole logic tree can be done in lerp. But what do you mean? What are we lerping? That doesn't make any sense. What are we lerping in the logic tree? You can't just say that. What are you lerping? Are we lerping the? What are we lerping to? It is already being lerped. We are lerping it already. Mouth open, mouth wide. I don't know. Like throw out some variable names. What are we lerping? I don't see how you would be able to lerp this, unless like you're talking about like lerping from mouth open from value to value, which we're already doing, by the way. It doesn't seem like it's possible to lerp the other values. Like we are also already lerping the current mouth shape as well. Yeah, I don't see it. Is equal to u. Okay, never mind. Okay. I think you're mistaken, or at least you're not quite understanding what the yeah, I guess you're not quite understanding how the blend shapes work. Yeah. All right, at least not how blend shapes are able to be used. So, yeah, I don't I don't know what to say. So which values do I have to match against? All right, we should do it like this. Oh, actually, now we can do the match, right? Should match mouth scale X. So this will just be, I guess, 1. And then match mouth scale Y. It'll just be another match. Hey. So current mouth shape is equal to. So if it's 1, 1, then it'll be U. If it's 2, 1, 2. Actually, doesn't this mean that we will? I need to match on 2 things at once, but I don't have tuples. And also, we don't want to match in the opposite direction. Right, because 1, 2 is the same. Oh, actually, is 1, 2 the same as 2, 1? So 1, this is 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 2. What is this one? I guess it would be E. Ooh, eh. I guess it would be, no, it would be both U and I, but I don't. How would you would need to register both mouse shapes then as the current active shape. Oh no, this is gonna get super complicated, isn't it? I thought this would be really easy. Oh no. I see how you would do this. You would have to have the ability to Yeah, I guess this is kind of what you're talking about, right? Like, blending the shapes, but there's no way to do this easily. I don't see how you would... I guess I would need to manually blend them together, right? So if we are... So like this is like firmly 1, right? But when we are 2, when we're in range 2, then we need to do like a mix of... We need to do a 50-50, like you and I, right? So that's where we would need to blend. But then how would you... I don't have this... It's not possible to set this up in an animation tree. I would love to be proved wrong. 0.5, then it's 3 in your scale, is it? Yeah, roughly. It's don't worry about the numbers. The numbers don't actually matter. It's just so it's easier for me to block them out. Yeah. If it's wide, it's 0.5. Yeah. If it's half, then it's 3. Yeah. Like, I understand the math, right? I understand what you're saying is that we can... Once we get to this point, then we need to take half of this, take half of I, take half of you. But then what I'm more thinking about is the implementation. Like, yeah, clearly we need to take half of both, but then how do I implement half of both? Which is the hard part. I need to set up I need to set it up so I can actually implement it. I need to set it up so it's possible for me to do this. Yeah, 1 value is easy. Yeah, of course. I think what I'm going to do for now is just bias towards E. Oh, yeah. Yes, see, that's the problem. I can't use a blend space 2D. I cannot use a blend space 2D. It's not possible. I cannot use this thing. How do I... Or at least I need some way, I need a way to automatically generate it. I can see that these have things attached to it, but like how do I generate one of these dynamically? This doesn't make any sense to me. So you have an animation player, sure. I actually technically do not have an animation player. Technically do not have an animation player, but a resource to add to an animation node tree. Can you just use this? Oh, can you just use this by itself? Are you sure? All right, well. Add triangle, blend mode, X label, snap, auto triangles, get blend point, get triangle point? Well, I don't know. I suppose. How do I... Okay, how would you use this then? I'm looking at it. Looking at it. You can add vertices to the blend space with add blend point and automatically triangulate by setting auto triangles to true. Otherwise, use add triangle and remove triangle to create up the blend space by hand. What does this mean? Get blend point position points. Get blend point counts. Add blend point. No, you see, you need an animation root node, don't you? Hey. Add the node animation tree. Where? Where? Oh? What is this? This is blend space to the animation root node. The scene tree add? What? Scene animation tree. Sure, it exists. I don't have an animation player. Then we add a blend space 2D. Yeah. I don't have an animation player. Do I need an animation player? There's nothing to animate against. This seems like a hack, although it will probably be a lot faster. Yeah. I don't really know what this means. What am I doing? Sure, I've looked into this. What was this one? This was a... What was this? This animation blend space 2D. Create your triangles here. So that's it. Path to an animation player node containing animations is not set. So I would need to do this. I would need to do this manually, right? Is that it? Click the pen. Add animation. Add blend space 2D. Yeah. Blend space 2D. That's a triangle. That is indeed a triangle. Then what? Then what? So I guess this would just be like a big one of these, right? And then the initial position would just be 0. You can put inputs and get an output. Okay. Oh, this is not what this does? Okay, whoops. Undo me. I don't really understand. You can put inputs and get an outputs. All right, how do I get outputs? So looking at how do I get outputs? Is it just a blend point position? Doesn't this is the same thing though, right? Isn't this the same thing as what I was doing? Isn't that's what I'm doing here, but I guess using a node instead of doing it via code. Isn't that it? Because yeah. That's pretty much the same thing except so I would still need to feed in values. So really the only thing this does for me is what does this even do for me though? Okay. So this still brings me back to we're here then, right? Then I need to No, doesn't that right now we're just here. Doesn't that mean we're still here though? I guess I don't see what the benefit is. Because then we need to, because then I still need to check to see, I still need to check the mouth open and mouth wide values to see whether or not it's within whatever space I'm expecting. What? What? I guess like we're still at this point. This still brings us back to here, which means I still need to do the entire check. And I still need to check against all of this. Is that not... Am I misunderstanding? Like, even if I feed all of this data, mouth open and mouth wide into it, then I'm just here again. This would actually be useful if I could hook up the blend shapes, but I can't because the blend shapes are values that are 0 to 1. They don't loop. Yeah, I guess I don't get it. I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. I think I would need to see an example, but for me right now, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So if we're at 2, I guess this is just, if we're ever at 2, yeah, if we're ever at 2, then current mouth shape is just equal to E. And then 3 switches it up to this step. So that's 1 is O. This is Ah. And then we need to do the same logic as well. Ah, jeez. Something like that. So if current mouse shape is not the last mouse shape, then we'll kind of just wiggle your mouth open to the appropriate value. Mouth open. Okay. Mouth open. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, that's probably correct. I don't know. Let's give that a try. That feels okay. Maybe it doesn't feel right, but it's okay. Send me. Takes a little bit because it needs to load the model first, which takes a little bit. It kind of works. It kind of works. It doesn't appear to be able to use any of the lip sync stuff. I don't know. I can't tell if it's working or not. I think it's probably a bit too... Oh, hello, Casper. How are you doing today? What I'm working on today is I'm trying to figure out this. It's basically like automatic mouth shapes based off of, you know, the stuff. Based off of your mouth wide and your mouth open values. So I have the following shapes. So there's ah, eh, e, o, u, to use phonetics, because these are more or less phonetic, at least on the reference model. Mouth open and mouth wide are based off of your left in out value, which is how close the edges of your mouth, based off these 4 corners, I think, are to the middle of your face, and then the up down, which is how far apart they are. So mouth open and mouth wide are composite values. And then based off of those, I have this kind of weight graph here. So full wide, full open means that you're probably doing ah. Full open, but like less wide would put you into O territory, you know. And then on the opposite spectrum, right? If your mouth is more or less pretty closed, but it's also pretty wide. Oh, you know what? I got it. You'll never be able to hit. That's why I'm only able to really show A-O-E. Right? Because if your mouth is closed, I also close your mouth. Obviously. Oh yeah. Yeah, but the closer your mouth is to closed, then you'll have E, U, E, U, E, U. And then L is just somewhere in the middle. But yeah, that little detail of if your mouth is closed, then your mouth won't be open. Obviously. That's tough. That's tough. How do I guess I need to adjust the scaling then, huh? So if we just push everything up. Yeah, so mouth open cannot be closer to... Oh no. I think I see what I need to do maybe. Oh no. So instead, what I could do, right, is instead of using the composite value of mouth open, I could just take the raw values of up and down. But see I think the problem there is that now I need to track those values as well. Actually, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't even need to use the interpolation value. I can just use the raw data at this point because I'm not interpolating how open your mouth is. I'm just directly shifting it from one value to another. That's tough. I need to think about that. Anyways, I'm way over time. Yeah, I will push this to a branch. And we will probably call it a day pretty soon. I'm getting really close though. I just need to figure out the algorithm. Git restore assets. Looks like Arrow's just getting started in his stream. Very nice, very nice. I think he's still working on the Leorian board thing, right? Yeah. Well, at least you'll have somewhere to go afterwards. Alright, so git... What was my diff? Okay, so we started... Git commit... Start work on... mouth shape recognition, I suppose. Deck has dubbed it now in stream titles. Oh, whoops. Git push origin feature add mouth shape tracking. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I was thinking about doing something like that. I actually kind of already have something like he's doing. Where, yeah, like he has the Twitch integration. I have the Twitch integration. OBS is actually not yet integrated into that, but, you know, we're getting there. And then I guess the only thing that's missing is the, I guess the weird drag and drop that Leorian board does, but I don't know. Not a huge fan of drag and drop configuration, but it does look cool. It makes sense in some cases, but I feel like I've looked at Leorian board and I was like, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Yeah. We'll get to it though. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I'll be live tomorrow from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. Probably working on this again. Because this is the last thing I want to get done before I cut a new release for 8081 release of this. So it'll be really cool. Just got done testing out most of the Linux enhancements, so this should just work out of the box on Linux. And then after this 8.2, for the 8.2 release, I want to re-add prop tracking. So there are props, and you can add just 3D models or sprites or whatever you want. But ever since I refactored the configuration saving stuff, prop tracking has been super broken. So technically, I've had prop tracking longer than VC Face has, and then also lost it as well. But yeah, I used to have a bot, but my bot's broken. I don't know why. But there's a Discord somewhere. You can find it on my profile. Give the channel a follow you went already. Stream Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Wednesdays from 9 to 11. Yeah, let's find somebody to raid, I guess. Let's see. Actually, there's a lot of people. We'll send you over to Nova, actually, though. I said I would raid them when they were here. But Nova Liminal is also doing Godot. They are making some sort of RPG crane game. Very cool. Yeah, get sense. Goodbye.